The country club ballroom went silent. My mother stood at the microphone holding a champagne flute, her face frozen mid-smile. Behind her, a banner read, "Happy Retirement, Patricia." In front of her, two uniformed officers and a woman in a navy business suit carrying a leather portfolio. "I'm sorry," my mother said, voice shaking slightly. "There must be some mistake." The woman in the suit stepped forward. "I'm Rebecca Chin, Senior Property Manager for Coastal Elite Management. We handle the Sandpiper Beach House under a corporate lease agreement signed in 2019. The lease runs through December 2037. Your son, David Morrison, is the property owner. You are not authorized to sell this property." My brother James stood up from the family table. "Mom has power of attorney. David's been MIA for 2 years. She had every right." "I don't have power of attorney," I said, stepping out from behind the officers. The room erupted. My mother dropped her champagne flute. The sharp sound of crystal shattering on marble echoed through the ballroom. My sister Sarah went pale, her hand clutching the $50,000 check Mom had given her an hour earlier. My brother's jaw tightened, that little tell he has when he knows he's trapped. Rebecca Chin opened her portfolio. "Mr. Morrison contacted us 3 weeks ago when he discovered unauthorized listing activity. We've been monitoring the situation in coordination with local authorities." My mother's hands trembled. "David, sweetheart, but you disappeared. You weren't answering calls." "I was just trying to secure everyone's future." "I was answering calls," I said quietly. "Just not yours." 6 weeks earlier. The notification appeared on my phone at 6:47 a.m. New property listing alert 2847 Sandpiper Lane. I was 2,000 miles away in Seattle, 3 months into a software development contract that had me working 70-hour weeks. I opened the real estate app. There was my beach house, the one I'd bought in 2018 with my first startup exit money, listed for $2.1 million. Listed by Patricia Morrison, my mother. I called Rebecca Chin immediately. "Miss Chin, this is David Morrison. Someone's trying to sell the Sandpiper property." "Mr. Morrison?" Her voice was sharp with concern. "Your mother called us 2 weeks ago claiming you died in a car accident. She said she was handling the estate." The room tilted slightly. "I'm very much alive. I can hear that." She presented what looked like a death certificate and estate documents. "We informed her we couldn't terminate the corporate lease early without significant penalties. She said she understood and would work with the tenant." Then this listing appeared. The tenant being? Meridian Pharmaceuticals. They use it as an executive retreat. The lease generates $180,000 annually with a 3% escalation clause. They've been model tenants. I did the math quickly. 14 years remaining. Roughly $2.8 million in guaranteed income, plus property appreciation. My mother was trying to sell a $2.1 million asset that would generate nearly $3 million just sitting there. "What do you need from me?" I asked. "Documentation that you're alive would be helpful," Rebecca said dryly. "And a police report. What she's attempting is wire fraud." I stared out my apartment window at the Seattle skyline. Rain streaked the glass. "Give me 48 hours. I need to understand the full scope before involving police." The investigation. I hired a forensic accountant named Martin Reeves. He was expensive, $400 per hour, but thorough. 3 days later he sent his preliminary report. "Your mother opened an estate checking account in your name on February 3rd using forged probate documents. She deposited $50,000 of her own money to make it appear legitimate. She's received $85,000 in earnest money deposits from potential buyers. She's already spent $400,000, a down payment on a beachfront condo in her name and $50,000 checks written to each of your 3 siblings. Question: where did she get $400,000 if she's supposedly struggling financially?" I called my brother's wife, Emma. We'd always gotten along. "Emma, did James receive a large check from Mom recently?" Long pause. "He told me it was an early inheritance, that you'd wanted the family taken care of before." "David, what's happening?" "I'm not dead. And that wasn't inheritance." Her breath caught. "Oh God. James said you'd approved everything. That you were checking out of the family and this was your way of providing. He's already put a deposit on a boat." "A boat?" My mother had convinced my siblings I was dead, forged documents, defrauded buyers, and my brother bought a boat. Martin's next email arrived that evening. Found the $400,000 source. Your mother took a reverse mortgage on her home. $425,000 borrowed against $380,000 in equity. She's betting everything on this sale going through. I sat in my apartment, Seattle rain drumming against the windows. My mother had bet her house on stealing mine. The Ghost Ledger. I opened a spreadsheet and titled it The Ghost Ledger. Emotional Costs Beyond Money. Thanksgiving 2022. Call to wish everyone well. Mom said, David, we miss you, while planning my fake death. Cost. The belief family gatherings were safe spaces. Christmas 2023. Sent gifts. Sarah texted, you're so thoughtful. She was already holding a forged death certificate. Cost. Trust in 34 years of sisterhood. February 2024. Dad's death anniversary. Mom called crying about being alone. She was signing fraud documents. Cost. Grief weaponized. Weekly calls where Mom asked about my health, my life, my plans. Every word was reconnaissance. Every vulnerability was cataloged. Every I love you was strategy. I'd spent 2 years believing distance was temporary. That family was a constant I could return to. Looking at the ledger, I realized I'd been mapping a relationship that never existed. They hadn't seen me as a person. They'd seen me as a revenue stream to be diverted. The emotional arithmetic was simple. 0 in, 0 out. The account had always been empty. The strategic response. I called Rebecca Chin. I want to attend my mother's retirement party. The one she's planning for March 15th. Mr. Morrison, that's very public. Are you sure? She made it public when she announced the sale. I want her celebration to be the moment truth arrives. I coordinated with Detective Sarah Alvarez from the Fraud Division. We built an airtight case. Forged documents, wire transfer records, email trails with buyers, communications with my siblings outlining their inheritance. The prosecutor called it one of the cleaner fraud cases she'd seen. 3 weeks before the party, I flew home. I stayed at a hotel under a different name. I met with Rebecca, Detective Alvarez, and a civil attorney named Harold Maddox who specialized in real estate fraud. Harold reviewed everything. Your mother's exposure is severe. Wire fraud, forgery, identity theft. Federal charges possible. She's facing 5 to 10 years minimum. I don't want her in prison, I said quietly. I want her to understand what she lost. Harold nodded. Then we make it financial. Asset forfeiture, restitution, restraining orders. She loses everything but freedom. Detective Alvarez added, the party's at Meadowbrook Country Club. For doing this publicly, we need to be surgical. No scene. Just documentation and consequences. I looked at the file folder thick with evidence. She made it a celebration. I'm just providing the final act. The revelation. The retirement party was elegant. My mother wore a cream dress, her silver hair styled perfectly. The country club had prepared shrimp cocktails and prime rib. 200 guests, her colleagues, friends, neighbors. The family table near the front held my siblings and their spouses. At 7:15 p.m., my mother approached the microphone for her speech. He thanked everyone. Talked about 35 years at the hospital. Mentioned how grateful she was for family support during difficult times, especially losing my son David 2 years ago. Several guests gasped sympathetically. Sarah dabbed her eyes with a napkin. Mom continued, but even in grief we move forward. I'm grateful David left us resources to build new chapters. I sold his beach house this week. $2.1 million that will fund my retirement and help his siblings. David would have wanted us taken care of. The room applauded. That's when Rebecca Chin walked in, flanked by 2 police officers. The applause died like someone had cut the sound system. Heels clicked on marble as they approached the stage. Patricia Morrison? Detective Alvarez said. My mother's smile flickered. Yes. I'm Detective Alvarez. This is Rebecca Chin from Coastal Elite Management. We need to speak with you about 2847 Sandpiper Lane. My son's property. I explained everything to the management company. Your son is alive, Rebecca said. She opened her portfolio, pulled out a document. This property has 14 years remaining on a corporate lease to Meridian Pharmaceuticals. The lease generates $180,000 annually. You've been attempting to sell property you don't own, to which you have no legal authority, using forged probate documents. You've collected $85,000 in earnest money deposits through fraud. You've spent $400,000 obtained through misrepresentation. This constitutes wire fraud, forgery, and identity theft. My mother's champagne flute slipped from her hand. The crystal shattered. I stepped out from behind the officers. "Hi, Mom." Sarah gasped. James stood so fast his chair tipped backward. My mother's face drained of color, her hand reaching for the podium to steady herself. "David." Her voice cracked. "But, you were... I thought... You thought I was dead? Or you told everyone I was dead?" I said quietly. "There's a difference," Rebecca continued, her voice professional and devastating. "Mr. Morrison contacted us 3 weeks ago. We've been documenting everything since. The forged death certificate. The fraudulent estate account. The communications with buyers. The $50,000 checks to your other children. We have recordings of your phone calls to potential buyers claiming legal authority to sell." She slid a thick folder across the podium. "Every buyer you defrauded is here. Every document you forged is cataloged. Every wire transfer is traced." Detective Alvarez added, "You're not under arrest tonight. Mr. Morrison requested we handle this civilly first. But criminal charges are prepared if restitution isn't immediate." My mother looked at me, her eyes desperate. "David, please. I was trying to help the family. You were gone, you weren't responding." "I was responding," I said. "Just not to you. I was in Seattle on a contract. You knew that because I told you last Christmas. You called me in January." I answered. "You didn't think I was dead, Mom. You just told everyone I was." James found his voice. "The check she gave me." "Fraud proceeds," I said. "You'll need to return it. All of you will." Sarah's face crumpled. "I already spent mine on." "Doesn't matter what you spent it on," Harold Maddox said, stepping forward with his own briefcase. "I'm Mr. Morrison's attorney. Every check bounces tomorrow morning. Every deposit gets reversed. Your mother took a $425,000 reverse mortgage betting this sale would cover it. That loan's now due in full. Her house, your childhood home, will be foreclosed within 90 days unless she makes restitution." My mother's legs buckled. 2 guests caught her, helped her to a chair. Rebecca addressed the room. "For anyone who placed earnest money deposits, we've documented everything. Restitution accounts will be established through the court. You'll recover your funds, but Mrs. Morrison will be responsible for the full amounts plus statutory damages." The country club manager appeared, looking stricken. "Should we? Is the party?" "The party's over," I said. "The aftermath." My mother's house sold at auction 6 weeks later. The $380,000 she had in equity went to restitution payments. She moved into a small apartment. 1 bedroom, $1,200 a month. The retirement condo she'd bought? The developer canceled the contract, kept her $400,000 deposit as liquidated damages. My siblings returned their checks, though James had to take a loan to cover his boat deposit. Sarah sold jewelry. They've each sent emails, long apologetic, explaining they didn't know, and were told, and thought it was real. I haven't responded. The explanation doesn't change the math. They cashed checks knowing I was supposedly dead. They celebrated inheritance at my funeral that never happened. That's the cost. They pay it. The Sandpiper Beach house still generates $180,000 annually. Meridian Pharmaceuticals executives love it. They've asked about extending the lease. That's another $2 million in my future. I sit on my Seattle balcony most evenings now. The rain feels clean. I've blocked all family numbers. Changed my email. Built boundaries that look like walls because walls are what's required. My mother calls from restricted numbers sometimes. I don't answer. She sent letters, handwritten, desperate, explaining it was temporary insanity and financial pressure, and I never meant to hurt you. But she did hurt me. For $2.1 million. For a retirement fantasy. For $50,000 checks that bought her gratitude. The ghost ledger is closed now. The balance is zero. Every missed call, every fake tear, every weaponized "I love you," all accounted for, all tallied, all settled. I don't need forgiveness. I don't want reconciliation. I needed them to understand the difference between family and fraud. They wanted to write my obituary. Instead, I documented their crime. They wanted my assets. Instead, they lost their own. The beach house still stands on Sandpiper Lane. Waves still crash. Executives still vacation there. And every month $15,000 arrives in my account like clockwork. My mother wanted my property to fund her peace. Instead, she bought my permanent distance. That's the real cost, not the money she lost, but the son who'll never come home. The account is closed. The balance is zero. And I am finally completely free.